So I want to start with just having our listeners like hear about you for a minute before we get into like the stuff that you're doing at the moment, because I think so many of us have grown up, being so enamored with what we all kind of know you for, which is your hit music, right? And your amazing song "Hold On" that all of us, I think, would be lying if we said we haven't grabbed a hairbrush and stood in front of the mirror and acted out that song or pretended we were walking down the beach with you in Venice or wherever that was. So
Yeah,
before we get into you now, I just want to talk to you about your life when you grew up. You grew up in a musical family. Tell me, about what your childhood was like. Like, did you want to be a veterinarian or did you know you were going to get into music?
that's funny. When I was like a young girl, about 5 or 6 years old, I wanted to be a nurse. That's
Oh.
that's what because I loved taking care of people and like if my sister would fall or get scratched or whatever, I would like help her and nurse her little wound and just be like very motherly, you know? And so
Mhm.
I remember wanting to be a nurse when I was young, and then I discovered music, and it was just like it was just tunnel vision from there. I just couldn't veer from that. It was just my
Right.
calling, you know. But yeah, very musical household. Lots of people coming in and out, lots of parties. Very, it was Hollywood, but then it really wasn't. It was
Mm.
just sort of like um, my my dad was very private, but he had a large group of friends, and some people were pretty toxic, and it was kind of a fucked up time too because it was
Mm.
like this, the early 70s, and people were it was almost like people came around to like give them drugs and like just be a part of this like bubble of rock and roll bubble, I'll
Mhm.
call it. And it wasn't, I don't think he really wanted that. I think that he was still trying to be creative, which he was very much so. But he was just sort of doing his thing, and my mom was just trying to keep the two young girls together and sort of make some establish some ground, I don't know, baseline. I don't even know how you would call it.
Yeah.
Um,
Foundation. Yeah.
foundation, for our lives, which was like, well, I don't know how normal it was. It was, I mean, Sean Cassidy would knock at the door, at any given point, or like Keith Moon would come and jump in the pool, with his clothes on with my dad. It was anything but normal. But I think my mom was really loving, and dad was too. He was just very much in his own world. But yeah, it's like it's such a different childhood my kids have now versus mine.
Right. I was
Right.
going to ask you who some of the famous people were that, walked into your house and would just hang out and like grab a beer on the couch. Was there anyone besides the names you just meant that stood out that were always there?
Well, I don't know about always there, but there was, I mean, Elton John and Paul McCartney would pop by to sing a little bit on the piano, and Elton wanted to buy dad's piano, and he actually begged my dad. My mom has that piano. It's really a great piano. It was Good Vibrations was written on it, and Surfs Up. Very special piano. And
Wow.
Elton wanted it really badly. He but my mom wouldn't give it to him. But yeah, it was sort of unpredictable, but predictable.
And
Everything.
and what was it like I mean, would you guys just be sitting around harmonizing and singing or, was their music always playing or was it always the music that they were making that they were listening to?
Sort of a combination of everything. It was never like this kumbaya, let's sit around the fire and sing harmony. That happened a little bit later, but which is great because like everything came full circle, with my dad, with my mom, everyone,
Mhm.
music, and just being able to like record with him, be on stage with him and my mom.
Mhm.
So we've had so many great times of just celebrating music and love and family, and it's taken many turns. It's been like this big forest with lots of different things in it,
Mhm.
but I'm grateful for everything, the challenging times, the happy times, but music has always been the common denominator, I think.
Yeah. Do you remember what the very first concert you ever went to was?
No, I don't. I'm assuming it was the Beach Boys, but I mean, Elton John and Sean Cassidy were I think Elton John might have been the first one. I was really young, like 6 or 7. He was
Mhm.
my first love, music,
Mm.
I was
Mm.
actually very obsessed with him for a long time. And we had the album Captain Fantastic and all these records, the Carpenters, lots of these 70s records, which I just can't shake it. I love 70s, so I'm obsessed with
Yeah,
70s music. But Elton was like just the best. So I think Elton was the first.
right, right. Do you think having famous parents helped or hindered you when you were first starting your band?
Both.
Mm,
Definitely both. Both because it was like we got in the door. I really believe we got in the door uh just by connections alone. Like
mm,
knowing big producers and songwriters and being very adamant about writing our own songs because we knew that people were going to think that we were just riding their coattails.
yeah.
It was really important for us to write our material so we could like get respect. And that was advice given to us by, the great Richard Perry producer who made all these records that I love growing up listening to.
Hmm.
And so like that was kind of like not the warning, but it was more like if you guys want to have respect in this business, write your songs.
Mm.
We had like not the faintest idea what to do, so we got together with Glenn Ballard and then we had a few songs and shopped a 4-song demo to several record companies, and then it was like a bidding war. And I do think that they gave their advice. They totally was like they were like, watch out for this, watch out for the. My dad said, watch out for the sharks. He would say that's all he ever said. And then my mom was a little more, I don't know, just very supportive of the sound because we were living with my mom at the time. Wendy was 16 and I was 18. We were
Mm.
so we started singing and harmonizing, and she heard it, and she just said, "You guys sound so good together." And it was like sort of a quest at that point.
Right. So I was going to ask how that works. So it was you, your sister, and your high school friend, right? Is that where China came into it?
Actually, since birth. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So we're 56 years of friendship here.
Oh,
Uh,
that's amazing.
Amazing. I mean, really, really amazing and rare and special and yeah, so we've always been friends, and we had this idea to do this charity record, like 60s uh, children of 60s groups
Oh,
recording a record together and doing like a charity song, but nobody wanted to do it, so it was just us. And we were like, oh, fuck it, we'll just do it together, So we sat on the floor and harmonized and had this sound, and we were like, maybe we should form a band. But we didn't play any instruments, we just sang. We had a little piano, but we just sang. And it was like that was it. We knew we were going to be a vocal group, and it was all about the harmony.
wow. So tell me how Hold On came about. Did someone, first of all, who wrote that?
It was written by Glenn Ballard, China, and myself,
Okay.
and it was inspired by sobriety, taking it one day at a time. And yeah, there was a music, a track. Um, and basically, China took the track home. Actually, she took it. We were really pissed because Wendy and she took the only cassette tape. And we were like, "What are you doing?" And she just took it. And then, but thank God it was like this divine message that came through her. And so we sort of finished, writing it the next day or the couple days later, and got in the studio and immediately recorded it. And it was just this real creative synergy between Glenn and us and the vocals and just that chorus and just that punchiness of the harmonies. It was really, we knew it was really a real strong chorus and the strong message
Right.
behind it. Very strong message.
So
And it,
did you know that it was a hit when you first were writing it? Were you like, oh my God, this is so good? Or were you guys struggling with how to put the words down? I mean, I don't know anything about writing
yeah,
music, So
yeah.
talk about what that's kind of like.
Well, it wasn't really an obvious thing. I mean, every songwriter has their own way of doing it and their own
Mm,
creative, outlet and expression. But like we never really wrote songs to be like, let's write a hit, what you always want it to be. But it was
mm,
more like, what's coming out of us, and we would be inspired by each other. And I mean, sometimes you'd be like, let's write a ballad, let's write an upbeat song, but it's usually just you can't really control it when you're writing
mm.
it. So it just comes out. and then you sort of shape it. And I mean, there's structure, there's technical stuff, like verses and choruses and bridges and all that stuff, and you want it to be like good and hooky. You always think about like writing a hook, something that someone can remember.
Hmm.
um, but I don't know, it's not. I think there are like more like machine type writers where there's a lot of Nashville writers that
Hmm.
are really, really great songwriters, and they know the formula of a hit record.
Hmm.
And they have a lot under their belt. But we were just sort of writing about young love and what we were going through with no sort of vision in mind other than we did have to make we knew we had to write some singles, and
Hmm.
so we knew Release Me was a hit. Hold On, we thought was You're in Love was another great chorus, and you know just like prayed that people would like the music. That's really what it was.